Bonjour à tous et bienvenue pour cette première session, this first roundtable, because I'm going to switch in English now. You will be hearing different accents today, and we will try to be the most comprehensive we can. So we're here for the next half hour to discuss the new age of smart cities and how they are heading towards more citizen-centric approach. So with me today to discuss it, I have Joran van Daele from the city of Gent in Belgium, Alessio Dragoni from Hampl, Italian company, and Tilman from the city of Würzburg, here on the top right of the screen, that is also here. So thank you very much to be here with us or online. And without further notice, so we will try to keep the questions at the end if you have some. Otherwise, our guests will be here during the day if you want to reach out directly to them. So maybe if you can first introduce yourself, the job you're doing. Joran, if you want to start.
Okay, thank you. My name is Joran van Daele. I work for the city of Gent in Belgium. Nice city, by the way, if you ever have the chance to visit it. I'm there as an open data manager, so my job is actually to go to city departments and ask for their open data. But I also communicate about it. I host our open data portal. I do events with open data. I manage our Twitter account and so on. So that's my job.
Hello, my name is Alessio Dragoni. I'm the founder and CEO of Hampl. It's a consultancies and innovative data company based in Italy. Founded in 2013, and basically we provide solution and product in the automations and of business process and in the dissemination and analysis and extraction of knowledge from complex data source. And in Italy, we run in Rome the Open Data Institute node, and of course we are resellers of Opendatasoft technologies in our countries in Italy.
And you work with the city of Bologna.
Yes,
yeah.
and we will present some case,
yes.
One in particular for Bologna.
Yes, great. And Tilman?
Hello, my name is Tilman Hampl. I'm very sorry that I can't be with you in Paris today, so I'm be with you on video and audio from the city of Würzburg, where I work as a smart city manager, which includes the hosting of the open data portal and pretty much same steps that Joran does. So collecting open data and possible data, changing them into open data for the city of Würzburg.
Great, thank you. So you have all been working with open data for a few years now. And so I wanted to ask you, maybe if you can explain us how the open data project changed over the years, and maybe what are your new focus now? So maybe Joran, if you want to start.
I think in Ghent we have like a long history with open data. We've been doing open data for 11 years now. When we started, we just put some datasets online and we didn't ask questions. We just put it in online and people were happy to use it. But I guess with our new portal, we launched 2 years ago, right before the pandemic, we moved away from the supply-driven, so we just supply open data, and we actually wanted to focus more on what the people want of the city. An example that I have is, for example, the trees. People were asking for studies and so on. Can we get the location of all the trees in Ghent? So that was something I chased for months, and I worked with city departments. And that we managed to get open and online on our open data portal. So that's something that we do more. We go to demand-driven open data towards more asking questions and getting in contact with our users more and more. So that's actually a shift for us.
Great, thank you. Maybe Tilman, if you want to.
Yeah, in the beginning, and we started 2 years ago, I think a little bit more than 2 years ago too, and it's the first open data portal that we had. So the open data history of the city of Würzburg is kind of the same age as the time that we use Opendatasoft as a software for it. But we started with putting online a couple of data sets, like 100 data sets with statistical data about the age of the people living here and so on and so on. We were very happy that those data are presented in every kind of format and that we could actually use Opendatasoft as what it's meant in the beginning, I guess, as an API for several people within the city. But we then found out that it's very important to collaborate with the people, and then we taught them to use the backend of the software and to upload Excel sheets and stuff. And this is how people who were actually the owners of the data were starting to be the publishers of the data as well. And this, I think, was the first step towards a more visual, more direct approach in sending open data out to the interested people.
Great, thank you. And Alessio?
Yes. So as I said before, I'm just telling you what we did for the city of Bologna. That is one of the 14 greatest wide area metropolitan area in Italy. And so they have long track record on publishing data since 2011. So many years experience on that. And so basically we help them in their journey since then in, let's say renovating every 2 or 3 years the way they create, publish, and collect and analyze their data. So basically, they move from a Drupal, let's say, based portal to a more sophisticated one over the time. And 3 years ago, they select Opendatasoft to publish their data. And what happened is that they move from just publishing statistical and transparency data on their open data catalog and portal into a more, let's say, useful set of data that include, we can say, some analytical data about what happened in the cities or transportations, so regarding business, regarding citizen activities and public services as well. And then move more recently to a more, let's say, data-driven ecosystem, publishing data, for example, dataset that come from sensors deployed on the city, and that give you a very nice pictures about what happened in concrete on a daily basis, maybe on an hourly basis, through the complete territory they manage.
Great, thank you. So it's interesting to see that you all started with publishing data, and then after you also went more inclined to discuss with the citizens to see what they needed. That's where the real open data value is. And so my follow-up question is, did this shift towards the next step of the open data portal made you change the way you work with data, the way you collect it, and the way you present it also to the citizens? Maybe Alessio, if you want to start.
Yes, that is part of the journey as well. And of course, making data more, let's say, big in terms of information that contains a more complex data set that of course can be and has been published by the city. It requires also some sort of, let's say, communicate the way to find new mechanisms to communicate the fact that are contained in the data as well. And Bologna put particularly effort in doing this kind of government to citizen, government to business communication, and create so-called data stories. So there are just, we can say, a long explanation with graphical representation, infographics, or dynamic, let's say, visualization that explain a bit better the fact that are contained in the data that has been published. And of course, they also disclose why they opened this data, what was the, let's say, effort to make it open, and of course, what was the work to make it not just data, but quality in the data they publish, and of course, how it can be reused by third party, business included.
Thank you. Joran, maybe?
Yeah, I think something that we changed over the years is that we emphasize communication more. So the advantage of Opendatasoft is that you can really visualize your open data very clearly and easily. So that's something that we started to do more. We started to communicate more. We used our open data account. We have at Twitter, we have at Open Data Gent, for example. And we started communicating about it. For example, maybe most people here already know that example, or sheep data. We had some sheep in Gent, and we put a tracker on those sheep, and people were able to follow the sheep around the city. It was a very silly example, but people started to know what open data could be. And I think that's my vision of open data. People will start using open data if you communicate about it. If you don't communicate about your open data, people don't know that it is there, and people won't use it, and people won't use it to make applications and so on. So I think our main shift is to start communicating more about our open data sets.
Great, and you told me that the sheep are not anymore in the...
No, they are in the
city.
shed right now,
No.
so they're not being tracked anymore.
That's
Sorry.
sad. And Tilman, how about in
I love
Würzburg?
that. I love that sheep thing. That I have to bring in sheep into Würzburg. Yeah, we have two tasks apparently. We have the external task. We have to talk about the open data portal in public, but I think we also have an internal task, and I have the feeling that the internal task is getting bigger and bigger, and I'm kind of seeing a conflict. It's a big word, a conflict between different departments within the city, because we are now not only transporting information through data as data sets, but also giving internal, external information of IoT, so that's live data and live traffic data, for instance. Some people of the, let's say, old school administration team think it's not a good idea to always have live data of everything given to everybody, and also people who do not really know what they mean. And the same thing is that we have like spatial data within the GIS department and the GIS department. They like that, to have those information. They see, in our case, they see some kind of competition, so which we apparently not are. So we succeed in communicating the information externally, but internally we have to kind of have some more promotion to find more love and acceptance.
That's very nicely said. Love and acceptance. So you all have mentioned the communication. That is a really big part. Also data stories and how you can make data more comprehensible to anyone. And so I think the best example, or the best way to show that, is to demonstrate. So we will have a few minutes now for our guests to show some of their projects. And so maybe we can start with Tilman, because you're far away and this way. Can you share your screen then? Yeah.
Here it is.
Yes, great.
So I think you started. Yeah. This is our open data portal, pretty much straight out of the template box. I like the template box, so we have different data sets in the front page. It's opendata.würzburg.de. And this is our Corona dashboard as we have it today. And I talk about this again first because we still have Corona and it's not very good here in Germany. But also, this has found a lot of acceptance. We had many million people looking at this every day, so many million times. We're only like 250,000 of people here. And we take this as an example, as a template for our next work, which should be a dashboard for climate change. I've seen this in different publications like The Guardian, that they use the interest, the higher interest that we have right now in data, and how data informs us about the status that we have now or what we can do. So here you see some parts of the back end, it's completely different. This is an Excel sheet that it's giving the new rules. And also these are the test stations within the city. And this is a collaborative part. So they are in charge for the tests and the opening hours and everything themselves. And I did a training once, and the same thing is with the villages that we just saw here, the villages and the new cases of corona. So data board, and we are kind of able to get people informed in a very nice and fast way. And as you can see, I pretty much think that you all know the analytics part of Opendatasoft. You see in November there was a much higher demand of the numbers for corona, and we think with more information on climate crisis, this could be a very good thing to kind of accompany the new steps that we have to go as a society in terms of climate change. And this is just a very short view on our Miro dashboard that we use right now to collect the data that we could use for the climate dashboard, which will go live, I think, in 2 or 3 months' time from now. So the task here is to put together all this information from different sources to decide what are the kind of low-hanging fruits, which data we already have and which we still have to find, and use the graphics of the Corona dashboard and to incorporate the news story of the climate dashboard on our Open Data page.
Great, thank you very much. So indeed, we saw that when you publish data that is really in the interest of the everyday life of citizens, well, in this case, of course, the COVID, you see an increase in the consultation of the data and an increase of the interest. So that's very interesting. And maybe, Joran, if you want to go next, because I think you have an example of a much, let's say, an event, but like a localized event.
Indeed. So around a month ago, we had our Gent Light Festival. For the people that don't know that, that's a big festival with art installations. We had around 800,000 visitors in our city for that light festival over 5 days. But a mobility company actually asked to me, like, is there a way to show in real time where the parking spots are available and where not? So we made a dashboard for that, on which we can see the real-time occupation of all the parking spots. That includes the underground parking spots, but also temporary bicycle storages units. There was a steward there who actually said it was occupied or not, and also the park plus rides. So we made like a dashboard. It was very heavily consulted. We had over 50,000 users, unique users, over our dashboard over 5 days. And over 13 million API calls, so that was quite a big leap for us. And I think we will move on from this towards a more permanent dashboard. This is only for the Light Festival, it was an event. But we'll make like a similar dashboard, it's already done actually, almost, for actually to use every day for people in Ghent. To go to the website, it's verkeer.gent, it's an easy link. And you can actually see in real time if there's some space left at your favorite parking spot or not. And also we have our Ghent festivities, normally when there's no COVID. And we also make a dashboard for that. It's a 10-day festival thing. And we also make a dashboard for that normally. So we will move on towards more dashboarding and more events.
Yeah, very interesting. And also to see that one event and one POC, like proof of concept, can also lead to other dashboards and make also the people like your boss or anyone to see the value and to replicate it in other situations. And maybe Alessio to finish.
Yes. So as I said before, the city of Bologna have started publishing on specific themes some data stories. And so going around many themes that are important for the city. For example, in the area of the Padania flatland, so there's huge environmental issues related to air quality, for example. So they made a focus since many years and published some specific stories that explain measuring the data coming from specific sensors, what was the evolution of across time, and of course, in between the COVID times, they experience a new great quality of the air, so they start thinking about that. And of course, it's not a news. Everybody was aware of that. But one side is understand, and another one see the number exactly what happened. So it's like measure the temperature, you know. So it's exactly what they see and they made. And of course, they take care of many teams. For example, another one was show how the city is designed for children, for example. So many data around the availability of asylum or infrastructures and facility for children and stuff like that. And one things they did jointly with the city of Barcelona for an European-wide project was to start developing a protocol to share best practices around what data can be produced and share with the community or the business in local business. And of course, COVID initially was just generic share. And, but the COVID required a refocus of this project. And so the Bologna administration decided to start looking in more in concrete how the city is lived by its citizen, you know. And doing that, so basically they take the data coming from the public Wi-Fi networks that is completely free, so no registration, so anybody can just with their phones or PC just connect to the network without any credential. And it is widely used also by residential that are using for free the connectivities in the city. And all these data, so the connection is reused to track basically what happened in the cities. And because you can also switch from one, let's say, access point to another one, it's very interesting because it can monitor the flow of the data and the connections through the city. So this is a way to reuse the so-called exhaust data and make new application. So that they was able to build a study was around a specific interesting point of the city, like a major square or the university area. You know, Bologna have one of the oldest, probably the oldest in the world, university. And so many students are there. And some other place like green areas were used by the citizens to spend spare time and stuff like that. And of course, other just renovated area that becomes interesting as district. So they made a study about what is around as a, let's say, point of interest that collect the interest of citizens to go there. And of course, measure over the 24 hours what was the presence of people, how many times they stay there once they arrive there. And of course, because the networks of the access point, they were able also to track from where they come and across what place in the city reach that point. And that was very interesting. So that the experience, as I said before, what happened during the COVID, during the intermediate, the recovery times to the COVID. And of course, it was a significant insights about the way that people move, where they go. And one of the key takeaway was related to the public policy, because this data can be used, you know, also to go in some place where there's less people or maybe it's more crowded, to find someone and socialize maybe, but also for public policy to determine what was useful for cities, where to open new shops or where to move some services and stuff like that. So very interesting.
Yes, thank you. I think, Joran, also you had an example of the monitoring of people within the streets to see if the streets are crowded or not, especially in terms of COVID. So that was also quite interesting. And I think it's 12 o'clock, so it's time to wrap up. So thank you very much for you to be here today. Thank you, Tilman.
Thank you.
And,
it was very good to be with you.
So Tilman will be online also if you want to chat with him, and Alessio and Joran will be here all day. And so, yeah, if you want to stay here for the next session or to go to the auditorium for the other one, I don't know if we can display them on the screen. And yeah, and I would really like to thank the marketing team at Opendatasoft for the organization of this event, which was, yeah, very, very nice. Thank you, and see you later.